Today we are interviewing the CEO and founder of Hatch House Ventures, Mr. Steve Boerner. My name is Therese Jasti.
And my name is Raul Kavora.
So, Mr. Boerner, could you explain exactly what Hatch House Ventures is?
Sure, I'd be happy to. First, I appreciate you guys introducing some really cool entrepreneurs out there. And I think I'm friends with one of your prior interviews, the CEO of Fit Degree, Nick Dennis. So he's was somebody who went through a Hatch House Ventures program for startups.
Oh, really?
And how I got introduced to you guys. So, sure. So I'll go ahead and explain what Hatch House is. Essentially, what we do is we partner as a third-party contractor with universities and economic development organizations in cities and towns and municipalities. And what we do is we run programs dedicated to helping startups survive past the graduation of college. So if you did your research, and I'm sure you already know, it's really hard for a startup to survive. But it's especially hard for a startup to survive when they're graduating from a university. Because they've got some student loans and they've got the transition of where do they go now. And it's a really difficult time. And a lot of really great entrepreneurs struggle and fail to survive past graduation. Yeah. So schools hire us and pay us. And we also run programs that are called accelerators for postgraduate startups. So we get our revenue from the universities. And we run programs to help their best and brightest and also members of the community take their business to the next level. We align funding. We work with investors who are looking to make investments, and we bring the companies that we work with to their door, essentially, and provide really well-vetted, qualified investment opportunities. So to date, we've been open for almost 3 years, and we've helped steer about $5 million into the companies that have gone through our programs. We've had 32 startups go through our dedicated programs. And we're launching another one in Wilmington, Delaware this September. We'll have another 8 companies go through that program.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so when you created Hatch House Ventures, were there any previous jobs that allowed you to create Hatch House Ventures?
Sure. Well, I've been in startups myself. I'm 32 years old. So how old are you guys?
I'm 14.
And I'm 13.
14 and 13. So I got a little, double your age and tack on a couple more, right?
Yeah.
So I'm a little bit older, so I've got experience in running startups. And I think that's a prerequisite requirement to do what I do because I can sit with a large majority of different industry startups and I can help them progress their business model. I also have business partners and mentors in our community that can help fill the gaps. So I don't know everything. Mm-hmm. And if, let's just say, a biotech company, I can help them in the business aspect. But if they need mentorship on something related to biology or in that industry, I don't know enough. So we can help align them there. So I think it's partially I've been a consultant. I've been a startup founder. I am a founder. Yeah. And then also I have a pretty good history and background in sales and marketing. So if we're going to partner with a new school, somebody has to be able to sell that contract. Mm-hmm. And so I have a good background in sales.
Yeah. So I guess this whole thing is based around having a community that you can kind of interact with and having people that you can put to different positions. For example, the biotech thing you said, if you don't know about biotechnology, someone in your community would know about it. So how do you say you expanded your community, and what advice would you give to others to expand their own?
Sure. Well, the biggest piece of advice I can give you is your network is as strong as your network's network. So what do you think that means when I say it? It's a tongue twister, right?
Yeah.
Your network is as strong as your network's network. So what do you think that means?
It's basically if you have friends, your network is as strong as your friend's network. And
sure, there you go. It's self-explanatory. You have to think it through for a second. But essentially, you want to have a really strong network. And networking events or doing outreach, similar to how you were growing your network through this, we're now in each other's network.
Yeah.
But let's just say we develop a relationship and you come to me and say, hey, Steve, I really need a good accountant. Well, in that moment, you have access to my entire network of accountants because I'm going to think to myself, well, boy, I know a couple people that you don't know, and I'm going to introduce you. So networking skills, networking sounds pretty vanilla and easy, but there's certain tactic and skills you can develop, how to ask for a warm email introduction.
Yeah.
Because if I email that accountant and I say, hey, here are so-and-so and so-and-so, here's their background, I include you on that email and I say, hey, you guys take it from here. That's a really nice, warm introduction. That accountant's going to take your call. They already know about you, and it'll be easier to get that contact versus trying to reach out to an accountant or an investor or somebody without them knowing who you are. So asking for warm referrals and tapping into your network's network, as you did, because Nick, who you interviewed prior, emailed me and said, hey, these are two great guys. You should help. Would you mind helping them out? And I said, absolutely. So I emailed you.
Yeah, and it's obviously been a great help because we get to interview now. So
it's
literally our network.
It's a perfect example, right?
Yeah. So I know that you have another company, which is Helium IQ, and I did a little bit of research into it. Isn't it basically about just creating a network in general, or like a community?
Sure. So there's other people like me who are building communities, and building a community is difficult. A lot of people will hand you business cards. Your email starts building up, and where do you put all these people, and how do you make connections among, let's say you two didn't know each other, but you were both affiliated with Hatch House Ventures. How do I manage people like yourselves, and if you two were perfect business partners, which looks like you might be, I want you guys to connect. And so when I was working with other communities, like in universities and their entrepreneurship departments, I saw that the online digital tools were not well equipped to help a community manager bring together all the constituents and stakeholders. So we developed a product that is software-based. It's web-based right now. We'll be mobile in about a year or so. That essentially creates a dynamic online social community that can be administered by somebody like myself or a university admin. And they can go ahead and have a very social, business-minded, kind of like LinkedIn, but on their end, they can manage it at a very effective rate. It serves as a way to keep all the contact information for them. They can do outreach, kind of like email campaign management. So they can do a lot of stuff on their end, which makes managing a community easy. So that company, Helium IQ, is a sister company of Hatch House Ventures.
Yeah.
So Hatch House Ventures does services. And our software, we also offer software, and that's the Helium IQ product. So it's under the same umbrella, just one is services and one is software.
Yeah, so because you created both Helium IQ and Hatch House Ventures, which company would you say gave you more experience?
That's a really good question. I think the experience was so vastly different from one to the other. Hatch House Ventures is more fun. It tends to be, I get to have conversations with guys like you, but I also get to help a lot of startups, and it's really rewarding. So it's really rewarding experience. The experience on Helium is something I haven't really done a lot of, which is building a really complex software product. And for this product to be successful, we had to go out and raise about $500,000 in investor funds. So that experience and going through that taught me a lot. I've raised money before, but this was, venture capital dollars, which was a little different.
Yeah.
And, we were able to do that. So it was a new experience for me. And that then translates to helping me be a better mentor and advisor to the companies in Hatch House.
So, would you say that you're learning as you're teaching your new startups, like through Hatch House Ventures?
Yeah, I can't tell you. Looking at it introspectively from my own development, the fastest way you can learn is to teach. So when I work with as many companies, as many hundreds of students, even though only 32 startups, I've taught entrepreneurship in higher education as a professor and stuff. So the more I interact and help, the more I learn. So I've gotten exposure to the inner workings of all different types of industries, which I never would have had I just been a founder. So managing a community makes Helium better because I know what it's like to be a manager of a community. And, on the Hatch House side, helping startups makes me a better consultant and advisor.
And, just as you said, this diversity you have from teaching to actually like incorporating your ideas with these startups. Diversity is always just a key role in everything we do. But what do you think it plays in your life and your startup, and how do you think it affected you as a person?
In the diversity of my experience,
Mm-hmm.
I think it impacted me as a person. Well, that's a good question. I would say just a more openness to models that are outside of the box, models that I haven't been exposed to, product plans and business models that were once foreign to me. I think it's made me more open when I first hear an idea that I may have heard a lot. I tend to hear a lot of the same ideas.
Yeah.
It's being a little bit more open in the beginning to, okay, they're close. They're not quite there. Right now, they're like everybody else. It seems to be the same idea. Let's try to find a way to make it work versus just writing it off as, oh, I've heard this a billion times.
Yeah. So, I know that in general, this idea of having a community and having another company like Hatch House Ventures, they tie into each other. But which did you start first? Because I'm trying to get the connection. Like, did Hatch House Ventures make you create Helium IQ, or did Helium IQ make you create Hatch House Ventures?
No, Hatch House Ventures started about 3 years ago. We were about a year into it where we started getting contracts with universities like Rowan University and Bucks County Community College and a couple other ones where we had a problem in managing our own community. Mm-hmm. And then when we started working with schools, we realized that they needed help. They wanted a software product that didn't exist.
Yeah.
And by being in that market and also being someone who manages the community myself, we saw an opportunity where a product was needed. There was proof of concept because people kept telling us that they wanted it, and there wasn't anybody else doing it as effectively as we thought we could do it. So we said, well, okay, well, let's not just build it, let's create a prototype. Mm-hmm. And in software, it's called a wireframe. Are you familiar with that?
No.
Yeah, it's a cool vocabulary to look up later. Look up what a wireframe is. A wireframe is essentially just a prototype, a software prototype. It requires no coding. Do you guys do any coding?
I do sometimes.
I'm taking a course right now.
Right. So if you were to you code sometimes. So if you had an idea, the mistake often is, well, now I'm going to code it and I'm going to build it, and then I'm going to try to make a company out of it and sell it. Well, that's actually the wrong approach. And sometimes if you know how to code or if you know how to build a physical product that you're trying to build, if it's, let's just say a new shoe or something like that, a lot of people just build it. They don't listen to the market. They don't create a prototype that they can test. And what we did is we built a wireframe, which requires no coding, and I don't know how to code. But I was able to build something that I could share my screen with you and show it to you. I could sit down with the director at a university and show it to them. And the functionality of it, it looked like a website, acted like a website, but it was a prototype.
Yeah.
And required no coding. It's really easy to do. And we showed that to about 65 schools over 6 months and got all of their feedback, so you can imagine how valuable that was.
Yeah.
Right. And then we got 4 universities to say, we really like where this has gone and we want to pay for it now versus over time. And they put their money into Helium, and we started that company because we started it with the market's money and the market's feedback, and then we started building a great product.
Yeah, so when you created Helium IQ, did you usually take like the foundation of it from Hatch House Ventures, or was it like kind of a separate thing?
So from a Hatch House Ventures perspective, if we were to sit down with a new school who's interested in working with us, and they say, what do you do? We start with services, and we say, we run an accelerator program with your brand. We work with your students and your alumni and your faculty. And on the software side, we have a product that can help bring all that together in an online community.
Yeah.
Tough question to answer, but I think I'd answer it as, it just gives us more breadth of product to sell, because we can sit with a school and, well, if they don't need services, we can sell the software. And we have the software in 12 schools around the country, yet our services, Hatch House works with about 4 or 5. Mm-hmm. So the software can scale globally, but the services aspect, we have to be on site or hire or do things like that. So right now we're really focused on scaling the software.
So Obviously, scaling requires a team. How did you build a team where you could have a software engineer, where you could have someone like you, a president, and like obviously someone you're delegating to? How did you find your team?
Sure. Well, have you heard the old adage, the old saying that says hire slow and fire fast?
No.
That's a good one. That's a classic. You're going to hear that a lot.
All right.
And that's true. You really want to develop your team slowly.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have somebody that's not the right fit, you want to get rid of them quickly. So what we did is we were really methodical about who we hired on the development side, and that's where we started first. So we outsource our development, which means that we don't have them as employees. We pay them as a company.
Yeah.
So you're familiar with that. They're a software development company that evaluated our project and gave us hourly pricing, and we've been working with them for about a year. So we have 4 full-time developers that are not employees of ours, but they're on our team. They work full-time for our company.
Yeah.
But it helps you from the taxes perspective. It helps you from the overall cost sometimes to outsource. And then as you mature, you want to bring your development in-house, which means we want to hire a couple developers that we can sit with every day versus working remotely. Away from development, we've recently hired a CMO. You know what a CMO is?
Chief Management Officer?
Marketing.
Marketing, yeah.
Yeah. So this person helps us put together the processes to get more leads for potential sales and help put together the internal products that we use and we buy from other companies that help us manage that system a little bit better.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, you ever see those websites where they've got a little icon on the bottom right, you can click it to chat with somebody?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. So if you went to HeliumIQ.com, you would see that little button at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
That was all, our CMO came in, and that was one of many things he did, but he helped us get to that next level.
Yeah.
Yeah, so do you believe, that your staff is, fully complete, or are you still, looking for, more to help you in your company?
Sure. I think our staff at scale, and at scale means when the product is fully developed and we're really trying to sell it and implement as many customers as possible, will probably be about 8 to 10 employees. Mm-hmm. Right now, we want to take our time because we have a fairly new product. It's in beta, if you've heard of beta.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so it's in beta. So we have customers that are paying for it, but it's not fully evolved. Mm-hmm. So we don't have an interest in trying to sell it. We sold it to as many as we can manage. We want to work with those customers to get the product right, and then raise some more money and hire the next batch of employees that'll help us get to scale, which means we can sell it as many times as we want because we have the ability to handle that workload. Mm-hmm. Right now, we're taking it slow. So we're about halfway to the number of employees that we'll need.
And how long have you been doing Helium IQ and Hatch House Ventures for?
So Hatch House Ventures about 3 years, mm-hmm. and Helium IQ for about 1.5 years.
All right.
Yeah, since Hatch House Ventures is more experienced, are you working in Helium IQ more than Hatch House Ventures?
Yeah, I would say I spend 70% of my time on Helium, mm-hmm. and a lot of Hatch House Ventures that we have in place that's working right now. I may have, let's just say I set up a Hatch House, office location in one city, spent maybe 6 months getting it started, hired somebody to take my place, and then I move on.
Yeah.
So we have Hatch House that's, it's running and working, and we're helping companies, but I'm not involved in every
single step. Yeah. All right, and for the last question of the day, and probably the most important question, what would you say that people our age, 13, 14, 15-year-olds, should do to pursue an interest in business? At our age, at the high school, middle school level, what would you say we should do to take action?
Okay, you want to hear the best piece of advice ever?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I will say that this is advice that most people won't do, or most people are nervous to do, or they think it's outside the box, and most people like to live inside the box. And if, the sheep go this way, they'll go this way.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to give you advice on is something that's very outside the box. And if you do this approach, the entrepreneurs that you'll take this approach to will love it, because the most successful entrepreneurs you'll talk to have done exactly this.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think I'm going to say?
Create a business.
You mean like just do it, right?
Yeah, just do it.
Okay, that's certainly important when you're ready. That I will say that is not bad advice. You don't want to be hesitant to do it. When you're ready, you do it. But getting experience is really, really valuable. So here's what I recommend young entrepreneurs do: is find an entrepreneur or a business that you know enough about that you can talk about it. You're interested in this industry. Let's just say it's biotech, and you really like biotech. Yeah. Research a company that's close by you, and contact the founder if you don't know someone who can give you an introduction. If you can use your network to network and see who might know this person, do that. But get in front of this person and offer your services however you can help for free. All right. Go to them and say, I'd like to work for you, and put a time limit on it. Not indefinitely, but I'd like to work with you for 3 months. Okay. And I can offer you 10, 20 hours a week, something manageable. Mm-hmm. And just say, I don't want any compensation. All I'd like is a little bit of your time to help me understand the business, and whatever task you're willing to give me, I'll go get coffee. I'll run spreadsheets. I'll do social media. I'll do the most boring stuff that nobody wants to do, and I will kill it. I will be so good at it. Yeah. And all I want is experience. That's the compensation.
Yeah, because then they'll see you're motivated and you want to be a real businessman.
It's like an internship.
Yeah. And you know what? They probably did that too. Yeah. And anybody who has done that with me, I've always given them good compensation in time that I spend with them, teaching them things, and beyond just training them, talking to them about different strategies and things like that. And throughout those months, then handed them off to somebody else, and they learned more, and then they circle back with me, and they've started a company. So you really can't skip experience. So I would say gather as much as you can. And I've also heard of people doing this who aren't entrepreneurs. They're just looking for a job, which is totally fine. And they'll go to a company and just say, I will be the first one in, the last one to leave. I'll do it for free. And the guy, this is a real story. And the boss said, we're never going to hire you, just so you know. You're welcome to come in and work, but, you're not going to, whatever. And the guy says, great, I'll be there Monday morning. I'll show up. So that guy started showing up every day. First one to leave, first one to show up, last one to leave. 2 months into doing this, the company lost one of their employees, and they needed to hire somebody quick. Yeah. They just stepped back and said, this guy, Joe, has been here every day. He's proved himself, never asked for anything. We know he wants to work here. He's already proved himself. Mm-hmm. So he got that job. And how cool is that?
Yeah, so how likely is it they'll probably give you the job? Is it more like
the hard work?
Well, you really can't have expectations, because you're not there for the job. You're not there. You're there to get experience. And let's just say that boss, after 2 months, said, okay, we've had enough of you, get out. Well, that would discourage a lot of people, and they would probably never go do what I'm telling you to do again. But that's okay. And, if you have that mindset to go get what you want and put in, time and effort, and the compensation is experience, mm-hmm. The seas will part, the clouds will part, and things will happen for you, and things will go your way. I promise you.
Yeah. All right. So today we interviewed Mr. Steve Boerner from Hatch House Ventures and Helium IQ. Thank you so much for allowing us to interview you.
Thank you.